Hi, and welcome to this video on making comfrey tea. In the bottom of a square profiled bucket, punch 4 holes. Put this bucket inside another bucket of the same type which doesn't have any holes in it. Cut your comfrey right down at the base so you can use the whole of the plant. So here I'm clearing a whole section of comfrey that's been growing wild in the alleyway, and I'll be using that to make my comfrey tea. Now crush it, fold it over, crush it and press it hard into the buckets and repeat until the bucket is full. Now be careful if you find any comfrey with these white spots on it, which is powdery mildew. You don't want any of this, so if you find any like this, discard it immediately. You don't want it getting into your comfrey tea and maybe contaminating the whole batch, because if it contaminates the whole batch, then you risk contaminating the plants that you feed your comfrey tea to. Now once you've filled the bucket with the comfrey, you can now start filling it with water. Now these buckets that I have are square profiled flower buckets, and they're pretty big. I'd say they're about 4 gallons. So these are ideal for making a very large batch of comfrey tea. Now you couldn't quite do this method with round profile buckets, because you'll see very shortly why. So this has now just taken 2 gallons of water, and I actually need to go and fill the watering can a second time and carry on filling up the bucket. Now that we've reached the top, we stop, of course, and what I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to cover it with some wood. And a brick on top to keep it all nice and sturdy. So now you just leave it for 3 to 6 weeks for it to become tea. What will happen is the comfrey will release its nutrients into the water, and you will have a fertiliser. Now we come to remove the top bucket from the bottom bucket. And what will happen is I will turn this through about 20 to 30 degrees and sit it on top of the bottom bucket. And all the water will now drain out through the bottom 4 holes. And as those holes are relatively small, the liquid that drains out will be very pure and not containing many contaminants in the form of large pieces of the plant. And as you can see, it'll take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes for it to all drain out. Now here's a close-up of the Comfrey, and you can see that it's reduced down to about half the size. So now it's time to take the Comfrey and save it in an appropriate way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the rose from the watering can, because we don't need that. And now I'm going to pour the Comfrey from the bucket into the watering can. And now that it's in the watering can, it's very, very simple to transfer it into a 5-litre container so that I can use this Comfrey tea over a long period of time. Now this is a little bit tricky. You don't want to spill too much over the side, but it's a relatively easy process. Some might argue you want to use a funnel for this, and yes, a funnel would come in handy, but I don't have one handy. If I had a funnel, then I would use one. But it's not a difficult process. You just need a steady hand. And once your 5-litre bottle is full up, this is your fertiliser for the next month. And that is very, very valuable for the plants that you give it to. Now it's time to use some of this Comfrey tea. So what I do is I pour a relatively small amount and I dilute it to a ratio of roughly 1 part Comfrey tea to 5 parts of water. So here I've poured around about 200 ml and I'm going to add about a litre of water to it to give a nice dilute feed to some plants. And in particular, this plant in my big planter here at the end of my garden is my lemon tree. And my lemon tree has been getting a lot of my attention lately because I'm very, very hopeful that this year I will have lemons ripening to maturity. So I'm giving a lot of my Comfrey fertiliser to my lemon tree. And here you can see my lemon tree and the fantastic lemons that I have got growing and hopefully will stay on the tree until they mature and turn yellow. And these are really, really doing well this year. So I'm very, very hopeful, and there will be a video on my lemon tree in the near future. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And I hope you found this useful for making Comfrey tea. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.